In many cities, in Halifax, Fredericton, Ottawa, Montreal, Regina, Calgary, Edmonton, Kamloops, and Vancouver, there are cutbacks. Without further ado, I would like to get into the first speaker. Her name is Judith Marcus. If we had money, we'd have a better PA system.
The voices of conscience, the vision makers, the clowns and the comforters. Poetry isn't a frill. Dancing, singing, music making, image making are necessary. So I say to the politicians and to all those who would see us turn into robots, wake up, you guys! Wake up! This is not the cry of a self-serving constituency. These are the voices of our country.
Thank you, Judith. And also thank you to Suwagi Taiko, who opened this event today. Honor, and I never say that. It's actually my honor to present Sven Robinson. He's the federal MP for Burnaby Douglas.
In this era of deregulation and privatization and rolling back, it is profoundly important that we have strong voices in Ottawa saying to our political leaders, stop the cuts and start funding the arts the way you should be. Far more funding. Put this issue on the political agenda in every riding in this country. As a federal New Democrat, and say without hesitation, we join our voices with you in saying to our friends in Victoria, value, nurture, celebrate the arts, and make sure that you put the funding in that we need for the arts here in British Columbia as well. Our country. Thank you very much.
Deficit, right? You've heard about the deficit. Who hasn't heard about the deficit? So big and so huge that every Canadian must pitch in, except for Canadian corporations who evade taxes like they always do. That even culture has to get slashed to bits, even if it's a mere 1.3% of the federal budget and probably about 0.1% of the provincial budget. Things are so serious that $25 billion needs to get amputated from the National Film Board, thereby eliminating Studio D, thereby killing the International MV PAFS program, which assisted thousands of emerging independent Canadian part of cultural emergency, who organized the event today in maintaining vigilance over all levels of government. Thanks a lot for coming.
Okay, I'm just going to keep talking for a few minutes while we get organized for the rally. Gentlemen and ladies, start your engines. One thing is that we need donations because the government is cutting us back. That means we are asking you, the already impoverished art maker and art lover, to donate some of your hard-earned cash back to, well, I'm not getting paid for this, so it's going somewhere good. It's certainly not going into my pocket. I feel much more comfortable now. The only reason I'm doing this is so it ends up on the CBC, so all across Canada people become aware of the fact that they're cutting cultural funding. Thank you very much. So this afternoon's programs include, we are gathering right now from 12 until 12:45. We are gathering here, as you are gathering ahead of you. If you see a woman walking around looking like a doctor, she's not really a doctor, but she has bandages and blood because of the cuts to cultural funding. We are all being bled alive, hence the bandages. So get yourself bandaged up. We'll be delivering a rant as Ms. Jean Chrétien, and she look up of it, aims her scalpel at the crowd. Are they supposed to know this? It's not going to be a surprise this way. Anyways, the parade will proceed to Library Square, where there will be music and spoken word with Nadine Chambers, Veda Hilly, Norman Naraki, and the lovely and talented Judy Radul. Miss Radul will be looking after you there. So, I assume you're all here not just because it's a fairly nice day and it's not raining in Vancouver, but because you actually care about the cutbacks in government funding to the arts. And I would like a little verbal, a little rousing cheer perhaps. If you could yell as loud as you're upset about this, and get rid of a little steam, it all relax, because this is the West Coast. So, on 3, we're all going to yell as loud as we are upset, okay? 1, 2, 3. I don't know about you, but I feel a lot better. Where's Norty, my trustee? Round the tuba, start your engines, please.
particular affliction? Poverty. Poverty, yes.
And welcome, folks. It's good to see everybody out here. I would like to second Judy's congratulations and salute the organizers, but I'd also like to salute with you all the performers. You may notice I had a visitation from the night nurse last night, and this is what's left, my blood-soaked sweater, which I'm wearing to Ottawa next week. She mentioned that I was a member of the Minister's Advisory Committee on the Status of the Artist, which met many of you during its deliberations 3 years ago and submitted a report in 1994. One of our recommendations, among many, was that the province set up a separate and arm's-length arts council that would be run with artists on the board and that would start increasing the grants. There was a commitment to increase the amount of money that is put into arts grants. I don't think I need to tell you how impressed we on the committee have been to see that first they finally, after 2 years, set up an arts council, only to announce that they were going to cut it 25%. How do you think we feel about that? Shame! 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 When we made those recommendations, we also recommended that the people appointed to that council act as the advocates for artists and for the arts in this province. And I want to ask if a single member of that arts council is here today. Shame. Why the silence? Why haven't they spoken out about a 25% arts cut in a council that was just set up a year ago? I swear there's so little money in there that if they'd left it alone, no one would have noticed. Story. A friend of mine who's a unionist who was involved with a solidarity meeting in the early 80s. She remembers being in that wonderful march that had thousands of people here in the downtown area, and there were all kinds of media people with cameras stopping folks and asking them what's happening and where is it going. And she overheard a young woman being interviewed by somebody with a television camera, was asking her, well, now where do you think, what is going to be the future? What are we going to do here and what is the future going to be? And she sort of mulled it over for a second or two and looked at him and said, well, I really think that's for our artists and poets to discern. And she never forgot this, my friend, and I think that's the kind of attitude that we're missing in Victoria. It's the kind of attitude we're missing in Ottawa. It's the understanding that when we put money as a collectivity, as a society into an endeavor like the arts, it is not welfare, it's investment, and it's investment in our future. It's always been true that the most money, the most contribution, and the biggest patrons of the arts in this country are artists, not only because we fund our own work, but because we're constantly helping out other people. So you can imagine what some of us who've been on ministerial committees think of this latest idea of the Canada Councils, which was Roch Carrier's request that all of us give back some of our grants. As if we aren't already giving blood to ourselves and to other people, but also as if we were the only people doing the funding. What has been happening is with this slow bleed over the past 5 years is that governments are actually major players in the cultural sector and they're disappearing. But nobody's talking about it, nobody's taking the responsibility for it. They're just assuming that we're going to go out there and find some other way to keep this nurturing, this training, this bringing people along. Somebody up there thinks that when it comes to culture, it's just like gold in the ground. You can leave it there as long as you want, it's going to be there when you want to go and find it. Or it's like a tap that you just turn on and off. And 20 years from now, when somebody in Ottawa and somebody in Victoria decides having a few artists around is a rather dignified thing for an industrialized country to have, they're going to open the closet and see if we're there. Sitting there for 20 years waiting to write again. Well, that's not the way it works. So we want to know, and I challenge Premier Clark, where is the cultural policy that this province was supposed to put together and never has arrived? Why is it that the Minister of Finance is making cultural policy in this province? And where are those arts councillors who should be saying something about it? One final thing I want to say. something that we should keep in mind, and that is that this is a time in our lives in this country when it's important for us to know more about each other, not less. We need to be much more in touch with each other's songs and stories and histories. And who else is going to do that? Are we going to leave this for Hollywood and New York and Chicago and London to do for us? These are not things that we ask other people to do for us. You have to dream your own dreams. You have to write your own stories. And governments are losing sight of this. We've always been there on our own. We've always known as artists that government funding was precarious. We've never been able to take it for granted. We've never been able to live on it either. We're not the people, the creative artists are not the ones who are getting the major grants in the first place. We're not living off it. But what we do get is crucial and is critical and is very hard to find anywhere else. It's a logical and responsible role for governments to be taking. They should not get out of it without talking about it and without at least making it something of a public debate. So I challenge them to do that. And one thing I think we should always keep in mind, that although we have not taken public funding for granted, and in point of fact, most of us as practicing artists, if we had waited around for a grant to come in order to create, not much would get created. But that doesn't mean that we don't have a right to demand the government stay involved with this and understand the crucial role that it plays in allowing artists to get into their practice and to train, but also there are many people who are not international superstars, besides union members in my union like Margaret Atwood and like Michael Ondaatje, who just swept the Oscar Awards with The English Patient, and people like Timothy Finley. They all began writing because there was public money in publishing houses that would publish them, and because occasionally in their early years they got grants too. It's not reported on the business pages of the newspaper. We do it quietly, so I'm glad you're all here, because we are going to stay here and we're not going to be quiet about it. Thank you all.
I'm the stern night nurse of the cultural emergency, and if you haven't run into me yet, you will. Because you'll definitely be coming in for treatment soon, I'm sure. Now, while I'm up here talking, I'm supposed to mention that there's a letter writing booth here for those of you who will procrastinate and need assistance and need to do it now. Come up here and write a letter to Jean Chrétien or whoever you need to write to.
And one of the things that I really like about this country is the possibility for us to receive funding to do work that is not driven by marketing and demographics, that is maybe almost driven by the idea of trying to express ourselves and basic things like that. Can you hear the guitar? Sure. And it's given, things like the Canada Council and CBC have directly given me the opportunity to write these very strange interior songs, which I will do a couple for you. Dirty, my life is clean, my legs are weak from walking me. Carry me down so I can see that she has not moved. The slumber queen, queen says there is no light, there is no phone, there is this when you're alone. Your blood on the paper, your socks full of stones. We are all awkward, we are all awkward in this world unknown. Thank you.
I could do that, but I suppose I could. We have Norman Navratsky. I've known Norman for a long time. He's a cabaret artist and a member of Montreal's rhythm activism and a reverent sort of political performance poetry.
Cheese, whiskey, and move to serve. Open up a bar for all these friends. Come on, pick up, got a tattoo. Say, love your brother, amen. Love your brother, amen. Folks. That's the way it goes, folks. Vancouver, Montreal. You gotta stick together whether you're gay, straight, old, young, a pensioner, a student, unemployed, somebody with a bit of money, a struggling artist. We gotta fight back, we gotta get back against cutbacks, against bigotry, against all the injustice in this big world of ours. It's all interconnected, n'est-ce pas? Anyway, I wanna wish you all the best here. Stand tall for each other, stand up for each other.
Customs. Are you carrying any baggage? Are you moving any fruit or seeds or trees of knowledge, immortality or weeds or roots or truths? Through to bluer blues and greener grass, hash, heroin hidden, stashed, uppers Canada land, no lower class middle passage, no flask of flashing yellow magma, spirits rum release, no firearms, tobacco, or too much cash, or too little cash. In the razor thin space between my lines, you may fit in. Line up and pay your sin tax at the next wicket. I have 2 kids, a mortgage, 2 cars, a wife, read the province, not the sun, vote NDP, curse NDP, gamble, get drunk at Christmas, pay, play the lottery, get played, choose my 649 tickets and the extra by lining up my favorite psalms. I am a settler. I am uneasy. There is nowhere to go. I hanged my dreams on a skyhook. This inlet seems no more mine than yours or the Indians who sell us salmon in the strip bars. Tugboats tug at the truth of this, waking snakes of rainbow oil. It's the dollars we dream of, the me they might buy. It's the dollars we dream of, the me they might buy. And if that ain't the be-all, I sing a lie. Thank you.
We need a volunteer to hold up the other side of this cultural emergency banner, please. Oh, here we go. The guy with the very nicest sign, too.
The only thing we take with us is the ability to love. Does this sound idealistic? Unbelievable? Fantastic? Perhaps it's because we live in a culture that has been hypnotized by idolatry. Money is a metaphor representing nothing. A society that focuses on financial and political imperatives above the nourishment of its creative sources is ethically and spiritually impoverished. T.S. Eliot had a name for such a nation. He called it the wasteland. Now, if this is news, I am glad to be the one to break it to you. Why? Because it'll help. Help what? It'll help. It'll help all those people who saw your open sandwich face and let it sunny up their day. And even help those who will never get sunny again. But if you're not the altruistic type, hey, that's okay. Then do it for yourself and don't give up. Because what comes around goes around. In any neighborhood, love breeds love. Thank you. I think we got the Molestics coming up pretty soon, so that'll be pretty cool. It'll be good to do a little dance and get some energy out. I'm gonna do one more. I could close, up quietly curl, like the wings of a butterfly on fire for you. I could stop this being and be swallowed into the cloud of it, thick and dark and thunderstorm heavy. Or I could Get it out, let it down, let it all rain out. I could let it wash over me, let it leave me slick with absolution. Absolution. And then I could love you quietly like a rocket, forever floating and full of stars. Thanks for listening, everybody. Don't give up. Keep it up.
All right, thank you very much. And as Andrea said, our next up is the Molestics, and that's going to be the end of it all for today. Thank you very much, and thank you to